G'day. All this fuss about this little $4 piece of plastic. You will need a few other things to use with it. It is called a carbonation cap T, and that is because you can connect carbonation caps. These are $4 too in Australia, the plastic ones. You don't need to use the plastic, you can use the stainless ones. Again, don't need to over tighten them, or no need to over tighten them. Just like that. Now, the reason I got this was because I've always been after a double adapter. And what by that mean, a way to connect beer lines and gas lines without having to change the fitting on the end. These are universal posts. They accept gas and beer lines. But as you see, it's got a hole there. So what I mean by double adapter is I can use something like this. In the video I'm about to show, I used a little fruit juice bottle I had around, but this would waste less beer or less gas. And there is my rather over-engineered double adapter, but it works. I'll show you footage, but I can use, I can put my gas bottle onto here, and I can put my spunding valve and gauge on here, and I can set the pressure that the spunding valve's set to without having to muck around and totally fill up my fermenter with gas or something like that. For cleaning and flushing lines, if I need to use like a double adapter, as I said, without having to use change fittings, I can just use this. And I'll show you some footage later, but I'll show you what I think it was designed for originally, and that was so you could serve from bottles, 2 litre PET bottles or 3 litre or 750, or by simply adding a little tailpiece under here, a bit of beer line. So this is probably what it was mainly made for, I assume. Again, just with a little bit of hose on. This is probably a little bit long. I could trim that off. And you could use, 2 litre bottle, 3 litre bottle, whatever size you can get. This is already carbed. I mean, yeah, you could carb it in the bottle, I guess, if you wanted to leave your gas line hooked up to it. I mean, this would be good for a party if you did have the 2 litre bottles. I'm sure I used to see 3 litre bottles a while back. I haven't seen them for a while though. Not that I ever really look for them. And here is a simple beer gun. This is just a picnic tap. It's just a bit of sanitizer in it. I'll pour that out because I don't want to be drinking that. You could use, if you were at high pressure here, you could use one of the flow control disconnects if you feel the need. That would simply go on the top. Now, as I said before, this beer is already carbonated, as most beer will be. You'll be serving out of a bottle, whether you've decanted it from a keg or you've actually fermented it, carved it in the bottle. Then you'll get a bit of junk from the bottom, but anyway. And you'll need some gas, whether it be, this is just from my gas tank obviously. You could use a little, the gas bulb setups and all that sort of thing, which would be handy at a party. Stick the gas on. And by rights, I've only got that gas really low. Haven't tested this yet. But you can pour beers. Might be able to turn that gas up a little bit. Speed that up a bit. These bottles are a bit wonky. And there you go. Beer on tap. Cheers. I guess that's probably what they were mainly designed for, but people have been using them for many, many things. And these two methods is just how I can set my spunding valve without having to muck around too much, without having to waste too much gas into the fermenter. And it doesn't matter whether I'm setting one here that has the gauge attached, but in a minute I'll set one without the gauge and use the gauge on the gas bottle instead. It just gives you a bit of peace of mind. I can go to bed and know that spunding valve's probably set to 10 psi or whatever I've set it to, and I can leave it, and if the ferment kicks off overnight, I don't have to worry. And this method here is where I use the gas bottle gauge. So I set the gas to whatever pressure I want, and then I'll set the spunding valve till it's just maybe letting out the slightest little bit. And I know we'll be set to that pressure. Everything's just about ready to go. The filter's been purged, the keg's been purged. I'm just going to use this as a double adapter. See that? And I have got a smaller yeast vial, which is smaller than this, so you don't waste as much. But I'm not too worried. I'll use this as a double adapter just to flush some beer through and not go into my keg just yet. We'll put that on there. That on there, and the beer's starting to come through. Coming, yeah, it's coming. You see the filter filling up? It's going to get a bit messy in here if I do this. I don't want to let air in, just pressure out. Alright, now it's pretty full. We should be just about right to go, I think. I'll flush a bit out. Get rid of some of that sanitizer out of the filter. Oh, it smells good. That's probably enough. By the time there's half a litre there and a bit in the line here and a bottle filled there. And now I'm going to go into the keg. So here we are again. I'm just using it again as a double adapter. I was told that there wasn't much want for a double adapter. I'd really find them useful. But I'm just flushing out my filter, which is nearly clear coming out now. It just saves you mucking around, changing, you know, connects and the ends of them, even with the, you know, the John Guest style or the whichever ones, the Kegland ones. Right now I'm doing an enclosed transfer. This is the Kolsch and it's going into the keg here. And as you know, you usually connect a spunding valve to the gas post to slowly let the pressure out so the keg feels nice and slow and doesn't foam up. Some people worry. I usually don't use a gauge. When I'm doing this, I take the gauge out and just use the spunding valve. But some people do worry. So what they do, instead of a spunding valve, they'll run a line to a bottle like this. So if they get any overflow from the keg, if they've overfilled or they get any foaming, it'll go through the line, down the tube into the bottom of the bottle, while you're still being able to control the pressure of the bottle for filling your keg. I unscrew this a bit, like that. I mean, you still got to hang around. If that bottle fills up to there, then you're still going to get beer through it, aren't you? But you know, it's a little bit of a safety net. And people do this for their blow-off tubes too. Hang on, I'll just turn that off for a sec. People do this for their blow-off tubes too. If you're worried you're going to get blow off through your blow off tube, it could be used to collect yeast even. If you had a really full fermenter and you got krausen through and you'd sanitized this bottle and sanitized everything, then you could collect a bit of yeast from the bottom of this, if it works out that way. That's just another use for one of these things. I usually don't go to this much trouble because I usually am right beside my keg when I'm filling it. That's just another use. Overflow catcher for filling kegs and for fermenting under pressure. So another use for this setup, I've just kegged this beer here. Keg's full now. I've still got this, it's still pressurized, full of pressure. I turn the tap off at the end so it's pressurized. Now we can bottle like this, like a counter pressure bottle filler. Like the old ways where you just had one cap and a piece of line to the bottom of the bottle, you'd put the beer in and you'd sort of undo the bottle and just let out the slightest amount of pressure so the beer can go in nice and smooth from the fill from the bottom up. But this is a little bit more fancy. So I can hook my beer line up from my fermenter to the top. Now nothing's going in yet, but of course you could take this off, you don't need the gauge. But of course as you undo the swap hands, and if I undo that, we can start filling that bottle up. Now if this beer isn't particularly carbonated at the moment, but if it was, we wouldn't be getting much foaming. I could slow it down a bit at the start. Just go nice and slow. We'll speed it up a little bit as you get a little bit further in. This isn't carbonated, so I don't really have to worry too much. And there we go. Now I can fill that bottle. I could have put carb drops in the bottom if I had wanted to, like the last one I did. I'll just get my hand out of the way, I'm just holding on to that. Or if your beer's already carbonated in the fermenter, then you're bottling nice carbonated beer already. You'd fill it up slowly like this. You'd unscrew the top and put a lid on, squeeze the air out and put a lid on. I can show you that there. I'm going to be a little bit careful here because I don't want beer going into my gauge. So I'm going to turn it off there. I'm going to unhook the beer line. And I'm going to unhook the gas line. And there we go. No oxygen's touched that yet at all. And normally I would not recommend doing this because what can happen is the bottle will likely foam up when I put these carb drops in. If this was carbonated, you'd take the top off. Oops, stirring it up a bit. Cord's a bit long. You'd squeeze, if that was carbonated, you'd squeeze the air out, put the lid on. But this isn't carbonated. So I'm going to try that. Oh, and before it foams up, squeeze the air out. And it's starting to foam up, put the lid on. Somewhere nice and warm. There's not much better way of bottling than that. Originally this was just going to be a tack on the end of something video, a bits and pieces video. But this little thing is quite versatile. The things people are doing with it, this is just a couple. If you have some more ideas, leave them down in the comments. But for a couple of bucks, very handy. So that's it. I'll leave it there. You can have a look and have a think. You might be able to come up with something that you'll find useful for yourself. I'll leave a link down below where you can grab it. Thanks to my viewers, my subscribers, like, share, all that sort of thing. Big thank you to my Patreons, for without them, this channel would not be able to exist. Cheers. Into one of these bottles, because I haven't got any, but to demonstrate. Oh, it's foaming up already. All this fuss about this little $4 piece of plastic. From tap from a bottle, shit. Speed that up a bit.